All right, good morning. I wrote this on Sunday morning, and I wanted to just make sure everyone was clear about this. We are Shiva's imaginary friends. We are God's imaginary friends. And if you can't laugh at it, you got some work to do. So, to that, we had finished Thursday Baba's Play of Consciousness, and I wanted to just read a couple of things. Students of meditation know through experience that once their meditation becomes pure, it becomes free from thought. For example, when your meditation is fixed on the blue pearl, the mind becomes permeated by it and in fact becomes it. You temporarily lose consciousness of yourself. You become oblivious of the inner and outer worlds. Objects are not seen when there is no one to see them, and sounds are not heard when there is no one to hear them. In that state, there is neither happiness, nor sorrow, nor ignorance, neither perceiver nor perceived. Only the pure Paramatma, the Supreme Self, remains pulsating in his own being. He is an unwavering, thought-free, tranquil condition. It is the goal of your meditation. A man stays in this state for a short time, and then when he begins to come out of meditation, he goes from Turyatita into the Turya state. Afterward, in Turya, no matter what happens, he will retain the realization of the transcendental state of Turyatita. Then, passing from Turya to Sushupti, or deep sleep, he takes with him the experience of the Turya state. In deep sleep, he still sees nothing different from himself. Leaving deep sleep and going into the dream state, he becomes his own dream world, and all the objects of that state, chariots, horses, elephants, etc. He discovers that the witness of the deep sleep state is the same as that of dreams. And then, passing from the dreaming to the waking state, he realizes that the same transcendental being also underlies that. Thus, from Turyatita to Turya, Turya to deep sleep to dreaming, dreaming to waking, and vice versa. Only one witness remains. The four states may differ from each other in various ways, but the witness of them is the same. To become peaceful by understanding that there is one witness of all the four states, according to Muktananda. And there is a state of non-recognition of Chitti Shakti. In that condition, all the things of the universe appear to man as different. He identifies their forms, names, qualities, functions, and so on, and thinks that they are many. With the insight received from the Guru, he gains the knowledge of Chitti Shakti. When he assumes the limitations of individualization, differentiation, and action, he is termed threefold. When he assumes the four divisions of void, prana, the city of eight, the five senses of the mind, intellect, and ego, and the physical body, he is known as the fourfold soul. He becomes the 36 elements of manifestation right from Parashiva to the earth. But he is still one. There is nothing other than he. And in the Pratyabhidya Hridayam, there is only one self, the conscious self, Lord Shiva. Nothing else exists. And in the Vijnana Bhairava, knowledge of the perceiver and the perceived is common to all beings. But with yogis, it is different. They are aware of them as one. So, how do we get to this level of consciousness? Because it's not about intellectually understanding. It's an actual being. The shrunken self is so limited and keeps us in our differentiation. And we can read and learn and understand philosophically, we can understand religiously, we can understand theology, we can understand all of it. But how do we get to it as a reality? Practice. Practice of what?
Going in and experiencing that, whatever's happening, and trying to go deeper.
And then what has to happen?
A surrender.
A surrender. So that then what happens?
Grace.
Grace. Gotta have grace. The awakening of the Kundalini has to happen. The fire has to. That's the grace. We practice that self-effort of practice. And if we practice over a long period of time with great devotion and without interruption, right? We can receive grace. We have to know that we have to receive grace. And what happens when there's grace?
You're cracking through that shrunken self and having the experience of something that is not that.
Correct.
And you can then see it for what it is.
Correct. What's the Kundalini? People are talking about that. That's all over Facebook and the internet and Tantra Shmantra and Yogi Shmogi and being the biggest, bestest self you can possibly be, and powerful energy, and Shakti, Kundalini, Kundalini. It's like crazy out there. Talk about the wild, wild west. I have this image about the wild, wild west, that there were people who knew how to use guns, and then there were people who really didn't. But they all had guns. Everybody had a gun. And it was like boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. That's the internet. And spirituality on the internet is the wild, wild west. What's the Kundalini?
It's a basic understanding that I know that at its basic it's energy, but I know it's an energy that can only be awakened by a guru, because a guru it's like a divine energy. It's not just a life force. It's like a godly energy. I don't know.
It's okay. It's close. Go ahead. Did you want to? Okay, so everybody has energy, right? And if we don't have energy, where are we? What happens to us?
Dead.
Dead. Funeral. Dead. Was the energy always there? Does it go away? No. It's just that this is temporary. So the energy enlivens this, and then this goes, because this is temporary. Is that God's energy? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's all God. Even this stuff is God. Who would have thunk it? It's all God. But in order to return back, there has to be an awakening of a particular kind of energy that will then unlock, and it grows bigger and bigger. And as we surrender, and the shrunken self surrenders to the reality that it is, and learns, because what's ignorance?
It's not real to be real.
Right, wrong identification. So that the shrunken self no longer identifies itself as thinking it's something. And who we truly are appears to have wrongly identified, correct? So what happens is the Kundalini awakening overrides and starts to dissolve that ignorance. And that, so that then eventually that shrunken self is put in its proper place, not as who we are. And we are that Chitti Shakti, Kundalini, Divine Spirit, but it can't be that the shrunken self is taking in the Kundalini and becoming a bigger, better it. So who we truly are becomes back to who we truly are. And it cannot happen just through reading and intellectual understanding. We can't go back. It's great, important to have a context. We can even know the practice, but what happens when we self-effort, knowing the practice, it will create, like with kindling, when you start to, or whatever it is with the, as you start a fire and you keep on, it will ignite. And then the Kundalini can unfold. And everything goes back into its proper place. Now, people won't believe it. People who go to church won't believe it, but is it in the liturgy of the church? Yes. It's in the liturgy of Christianity. It's in the liturgy of Hinduism. It's in the liturgy of Islam. It's all there. But if we keep it as a concept, it's a nice idea, and we never move. So someone like Baba had the capacity to awaken. And he wanted for himself to be awakened, so he found Nityananda. And so, hence, there's a lineage as we go forward. You can have your Kundalini awakened, and many thousands did by Baba, and not go anywhere. It won't go to waste, as Baba always said, but it just sits there. Life doesn't change. How we respond doesn't change. Everything stays the same. So I wanted to read, just from Baba's book, what is that Kundalini? It is the power of the self, the power of consciousness. So, if it's consciousness with a capital C, is it smarter than our shrunken selves? Yes. So, would it be better to listen to it and surrender to it if we wanted to be really smart? Yeah. Kundalini is Shakti, supreme energy, whom the sages of India worship as the mother of the universe. Shakti is the consort of Shiva. She is the active aspect of the formless, attributeless, absolute. People who follow the tradition of bliss call her Ananda. Yogis make her the goal of their yoga. Devotees sing her name with love, and she becomes the object of their love. Enlightened people of knowledge perceive her in all the forms and objects in the universe, and seeing everything as one in that, they merge in that. There is nothing higher, nothing greater, nothing more sublime and beautiful than Shakti. Dwelling within the center of the heart, she shines with all the colors of the morning sun, and when she is awakened within us, we can see her there, blazing in all her effulgence. What is the nature of this Shakti? She is the supreme creative power of the absolute being. Just as heat, which has the power to burn, is not different from fire, Shakti, which has power to create this universe, is identical with Param Brahman, the supreme absolute. So, can you go forward without this? Really can't. So it goes back to the bird to paradise has two wings, self-effort and grace. So if you've received the grace, do you then have to still do self-effort? Yes. Really, really important. And a lot of people receive the grace and they think, okay, that's it, I'm done. I had it. You have to continue to do the practice. And do things change as if we continue to do the practice?
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. Does the Shakti get stronger?
Mhm.
Yes. Does it then demand that we follow it? Yes. Yes. If we go against it, what happens? Not the best.
It leaves.
It will leave. Yes. It will leave. It will go dormant again. It will leave. It will sit there. So they say, it's sitting and coiled at the bottom of the spine in the shape like a snake. And when it's awakened, it's like fire. And it rises up the Sushumna, which is the subtle spinal column. Have people in here had that experience? So, if you are not practicing, what does it do? What happens to you?
Same old comes back.
Same old same. Isn't it amazing? It's just all, whoa. Same old comes back. It's always practicing. Any place we shouldn't practice? No. It's all times, everywhere, without interruption. Does that mean we then don't have any fun? It means now we have lots of fun. And we tell jokes. A lot more fun. A lot more fun. So does anybody have questions? I'll now open it up. Questions on Shakti, Kundalini, meditation, vibration, practice, what we're supposed to be doing. Go for it.
I have a question. The Shakti is always very, very strong in here.
Mhm.
And when I'm out and about and practicing, it's not. So it's just the way it is? Or
It's the way it is for the time being. So the more you keep practicing, the more the Shakti will be as strong out there as it is anywhere else. So you're by yourself out there, and that Shakti is only, let's say, at a, I don't know, certain percentage. So even though you're practicing and you have grace, it's only going to, the fire isn't full. It builds and grows. So gradually it will get stronger and stronger within you by yourself. So you come back here to keep getting used to that stronger and stronger Shakti. Yeah. Yeah.
When we do get to a point where we are used to feeling it on our own some more, or at times more, and then we don't, is that always an indication that we have reasserted ourselves and we're shutting it
No.
down, or
It can be just that it's quieted and receded for the time, so that, we have to plateau. We have to get used to certain levels, and then we then get, remember, it's all consciousness. It knows what's, and so if, remember in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says, when Arjuna says, show me your whole real form. Come on, I want to see the real thing. And Krishna, oh, you sure? Yeah. Okay. Whoa, too much. Too much. Lighten up. Pull it down. Back off. So if it were doing that and ramping so intensely, we have to go at a pace where our vehicles can learn to handle it. So it will quiet down. But that doesn't mean then, and a lot of people do that, oh, I don't have to practice, I don't have a problem, because people practice when there's a problem, or the Shakti's really strong, so I either don't practice because the Shakti's really strong, because the Shakti's doing it itself, or I don't have the Shakti now, so now it's not helping because I haven't been practicing. It's practice all the time. And somebody asked me about looking in and looking out, which is Sahaj Samadhi. It's simultaneously looking in, looking out. It isn't look in, look out, look in, look out. No, it's all the time. It's a both and. It's a both and always. And that takes practice. And that takes practice out in the world. It takes practice in here. It takes practice to be able to do that. And so it's a both and, that then it gets to a point where we come from here. So we're resting there and yet can then speak and function. Okay, that answer? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of speaking, I notice when I speak, I have a harder time practicing than when I'm quiet and just listening.
Mm-hmm.
And partly I get a lot of practice here listening,
Mm-hmm.
but then when I open up my mouth, sometimes the practice is not
There.
there.
So what happens is, okay, I'm focused. I want to speak, and speaking is totally linked with the head. And up here, hi. I actually told somebody this morning that they were pushing their words out. Pull it back. Pull it back and in. Pushing their words out. Pull it back. Put it in. So at home, or with where you're comfortable with other people, practice. So you practice making just a sound. Just a sound like, oh, just a sound. Can I say one word? Can I say hello? That's how. So it goes tongue, throat, heart, down here, and back the other way. That's how sound works. Okay? Yeah.
I find in my new job that I'm concentrating on the new things, and sometimes it seems like it takes all my attention, and I realize later I forgot, I didn't even think about practicing. It's like I need to reserve some part of me always to practice, and I can't.
No.
I have to be able to practice while I'm doing everything else.
Okay. It's not some part of me. How many people are split up in bits and pieces, little chunks here and a chunk there, a chunk of me over here. I feel like NCIS with the bodies all over the place, a chunk of this and a chunk of that. No, it is the same one who looks in is the same one who is looking out. So when you look out to be focused, where are you?
I'm in here.
You're gone. You're the plants or the activity, or that you have lost your subject in the object. There's no anchor. So when you were riding the boats and you were used to riding the boats, were you anchored in here? As well as anchoring your boat. Anchored in here? And as you're riding your boat? Your answer is no.
And there were times when it was easier to practice when I was driving the boat for long periods of time, because it was all so familiar, my normal surroundings.
Did you just listen to what I just said? No, you didn't hear me. Were you anchored in here when you were riding the boat? Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Give me a percentage.
Hmm.
And how long were you riding those boats? How many years?
7.
7 years. Did riding the boats, did the job change much? No.
No.
No. So why weren't you able to be focused in here and able to communicate and ride your boat?
Why wasn't I able? Attached to my shrunken self?
Yeah, you didn't want to. Did you want to be Deb riding the boats?
The Deb. Yeah, the old Deb. Yeah.
That's it. And was Deb aware, knew how to ride the boat? Did Deb know how to ride the boat?
Yeah.
Yeah. She knew how to ride the boat. So, did she need to practice? Did she need to practice?
No.
No, she didn't. Would Deb choose to practice?
Sometimes. No. No.
How do you get to practice?
You decide to practice.
Who's you?
Have to recognize the need to practice.
And who's the I that needs to recognize? You got to keep on going back. So a lot of people look at focusing on their work, and hours go by and it's great and no conflict, no problem, no anything, because they're lost in their work. But what happened to them? It is a kind of samadhi, isn't it?
But it's physical plane. It's not.
So we want the absorption that happens from in here. And then consciousness arises, and yet you still function. So Christy, when you stopped at that car accident, were you lost in the car and all that? Where were you?
I was pretty grounded in here.
So were you running around thinking?
No, I just knew what to do.
You knew what to do.
Not thinking about it.
Right. And what got lit up was what needed to get done. Like the 3-year-old child that needed to be made safe and right.
It was very different.
Yeah. And that's what every day. So it doesn't matter whether you go to Finch, what are they called? They're to pick up the Mighty Mac.
Finch Services.
What is it called?
Finch Services.
Finch Services, where they had gigantic snow blower things. I mean, like, wow. Was the Shakti strong?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we have to practice?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we practice?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't matter where you are. And losing your subject and object. Are you retaining what you're learning?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not.
There's no one there to consciously take it in. You're just 5 senses with feet. So somebody's speaking to you. Okay, so like right now, are you taking this in? Are you taking this in?
I'm
Is this what you're doing at work?
I learned stuff yesterday.
Okay, that's fine. We're done. What's going on with that? Anyone?
Being obtuse.
Yes. The fog machine. So if that's, then do you learn? No. But do you think you learn?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
What did he say?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
You is so right. Yeah. Woo. Yes. Yeah. We don't have time for that. You can't take it in. So in order to do memory, what do you have to do?
You have to have taken it in first.
You had to, conscious. Aaron, you want to say something?
Yeah, you gotta be present. It's one of the most important things. It doesn't matter, I mean, there are all kinds of tools and techniques and things for organizing and applying memory, but if you're not present, none of them will work.
Yep.
And
Oh,
it's actually, it's something that was written about, and the sort of importance of that presence.
okay. So it went in. I wasn't there for it. It went in. So I hired a hypnotist to find what I had learned.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
I'm not gonna. It did go in, but I have to be in a trance in order to find any of it. Somebody else has to help me find it because I wasn't there for it. It imprinted somewhere, but it imprinted so far back that I have no access to it.
Well, also, I mean, it almost doesn't even matter whether it imprints it or not at that point, because if you don't know that you have it or how to access it, it's essentially like not having it at all.
That's why I said
you're ill and you need medicine, and there's medicine in your cabinet, and you don't know that it's there.
right.
It's as good as it not being there.
Absolutely agree. That's why I made the joke of I hired a hypnotist to figure it out. And then I could have the hypnotist take the test for me because he or she got all the information from me. So they can sign my name, take the test, and pass. Yeah, you got to be present. Conscious.
A lot of the kids that I've worked with who had special needs, special learning difficulties, or whatever it was that they had in particular. Most of them, it wasn't a matter of intelligence. It was really that they had not been taught how to be present to the moment. So they could, you can tell them something and they're not there, and it doesn't imprint at all.
Right. Yep.
And some of them were even surprised. They knew that they did this and were surprised that I could see it. And they said, you can tell that I'm spaced out. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Oh my God. Like,
no one had called me.
yeah. We were actually speaking about that this morning in terms of how that nobody calls the other person on something, and therefore it's so not caring in a way, because then they never know that they have that. They never know. They can't change. They can't learn. They can't anything. And at the very least, we're not an accomplice if we do that. And then if we have the capacity to then help them, that's great. But now, and that doesn't mean just like what's going on social media where everybody's just trashing everybody and and I'm speaking my truth or whatever, and no, I'm talking about being appropriate and telling of somebody, did you know that you just did not hear a word of what I just said? And what does that do for both you and the other person? Yeah.
I was going to say it confronts it so that you can recognize it, so then you can.
That's right. And at least you're respecting yourself. You have a respect for yourself. So, where would the Kundalini have gone with that? dormant, down, quiet. Grace and self-effort. Gotta have both. And there's so many smarty pantses out there thinking they know, and they don't know. They've got all the information and none of the facts, because the facts come on the grace side. The reality is on grace. So let's take a minute and go in. And when I say go in, that does not mean go into the head. How sad that would be. Or how about how many people think that meditation is sitting there watching your thoughts? That is probably, I rather watch some outward movie of some sort. Oh my God, horror movies, sit there and watch your thoughts. If we meditate, grace and self-effort, our minds quiet and still. The vibrations still. Our attention is into the heart. Not as an idea, because then that would be just the head, but into the literal, the heart of the fourth body. The heart of the physical body, subtle body, deep sleep body, Turiya body. That's where we want to go. Just as a read waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, Turiya state, and then beyond, Turiya Tita. And you stay in and enliven each of the vehicles and the bodies, and be able to speak, function. Okay, there's some nose on there. What we want to be able to do is to stay in and be out at the same time. No difference. Sahaj Samadhi, walking bliss. That's the eventual goal. Grace, self-effort. Can't do it just on grace alone. Can't do it just on self-effort alone. Have to know the right self-effort. And you have to know grace. You have to respect grace. Thank you.
Thank you.